All right. The company is actually incorporated as Golem Group LLC, but I branded it as Golem Workshop because that's the division that does all the robotic stuff. There's some related activities that I'm not going to get into. The story of how this came about was that I'm an engineer. That's my background. It's my training. And a few years into this career path working for the military, as was mentioned earlier, I realized that there was a very specific domain within robotic engineering that I wanted to get involved with, and that's how robots are experienced by people, what sort of effect robots have on people. And within the military, there is research being done on that, but it wasn't exactly like what I wanted to do. And I think that as entrepreneurs, a lot of us have the same kind of story, where at some point we're getting along well enough, certainly making enough money, and can keep going that path and get most of what we want out of life, or we can sort of take the leap of faith and see if we can get everything we want to out of life and out of our careers, do pinpoint on the things that we love. And so that's what I decided to do, and fortunately it's worked out pretty well. Still very early stage, I should say, and very small company. One of my goals is to keep the company as small as possible. I guess as an engineer, that's sort of an optimization problem. I want to find the minimum amount of resources that it's required to produce the desired outcome. And of course, that's something that you have to keep working on and going as the company continues forward, but it's an exciting thing. So, all right, I want to talk about what I see as the next big revolution. Not just me, but certainly it's something that's being noticed by many. Robots are cool, and they're coming into their own, really. So when I say revolution, something that you can think of immediately is the computer revolution or the digital age that we're living in now. Just the fact that this QR code popped up on the screen a few minutes ago, and it was expected that we could all hop onto the internet of people connected all over the world, people we can communicate with, and any information you want is obtainable, and anything you want to see, you can see immediately. That's a revolution, and I won't go into detail because I think anyone who's experienced it knows what I'm talking about. The robot revolution will be very similar in that any activity you want to perform can be assisted or improved or enhanced in some way by robots because they have these additional capabilities, not only the computer mind, but also the actuator, so they can move and manipulate the world around them or move themselves throughout the world, and sensors so they can take in and process things that are happening in the world, the same world that we inhabit. And so that's what makes robots revolutionary, and their expansion into our lives makes that the revolutionary. And specifically, I'm speaking about social robots. Those are robots that work with and around people, not necessarily, say, car building robots. I'm already halfway through. Wow. Okay, so what's Golem Workshop's role in this oncoming social robot revolution? And that's to make that experience as positive and rewarding as possible for the people that interact with the robots. I use this as an example because it's central to my theme as a robotics engineer for the kind of experiences I'd like to create. Ray Charles interacting with Kermit the Frog, actually someone's hand, but Kermit the Frog, the character. And that's actually really important to me because that's not just someone's hand, that's Kermit the Frog, a personality, a character that came to life through a puppeteer, through imagination, through storytelling, and those same techniques that are used in entertainment can be brought into robots as well. And so, speaking a little bit about my history, after developing robots for the military and understanding how robots work, I became fascinated with what else robots could be. And so I got into haunted house animatronics, and I was building that on the side. So I started my company and worked for 3 years as a moonlighting type thing and built animatronics to go into haunted houses. Landed a great gig, which is probably the most notable thing that Golem Workshop's done, where I got to go work on The Hobbit that was released last December and do the robot effects for that, and Superman that comes out next month, did the robot effects for that as well, and another movie later this year. But those brought about the technology that I think is capable of converging. The special effects technology can converge into robot technology and create a much more interesting and amazing experience for people as these robots come into their lives. I should mention that video games are actually a related topic because it's also a computing center that has an interface to the world through the screen and through the gamepad or whatever interface the human is using to relate to the system. that's what I mean by related technologies. Any sort of electromechanical or computing-based system that a person's interacting with, I think that's really the focal point for a Golem Workshop and what I do. What we do, I should say. Golem Workshop is an affiliation of freelancers. I try, like that optimization problem I mentioned earlier, it's trying to keep the number of employees at 0, basically, and hire people on as necessary to do projects. Projects such as a robot that can be programmed on the fly by puppeteers, a medical robot that sits in therapy sessions and is there to work kind of like a therapy animal. This is actually the project that's taken the front seat in my business right now. This is being done by researchers at Mississippi State University, the Therabot project. And it's, as you can see, it's not what you would expect for a robot, but really it's all the engineering that goes into robotics just being applied to a new problem set. So I should say, that's my business card. So if you want my business card, just write that down. That's all there is to know about me on that website. And it looks like I'm reaching the end of my time. So that's it.
So let's go ahead and open up for questions. We're going to do our best to bring around mics to you guys as well, so you guys don't have to feel awkward about walking up to the front of the room. So anybody have questions?
Yeah, how do the Therabots work? And give us some examples if you could.
It's in development. The Therabot doesn't actually exist yet. It exists in paper and very early prototypes. The mechanical design and build actually started, I think, early April. So, just early last month. And this, I'll show you. First, there was this survey that was put out with 11 different forms, like, here are 4 different things the Therabot could look like, and all different colors, and we basically surveyed people to see what they would really like a robot to look like in their lives. And the outcome is still, we know what it is, but because this is someone's research, and there's talk of commercialization, of course, I don't really want to talk about what development steps have occurred. But certainly it's going to be able to, the object, I can say, the object is to have a robot that's a calming force in people's lives and feels like it, with nonverbal communication, is making people in a better emotional state.
Question right here. The bit that I know about business planning and target markets and that, you kind of pick a group and stick with it. Right now it looks like you're kind of all over the place. You got haunted houses and movies and now hospitals and that. Do you have a target market, or are you just whoever sends you the paycheck?
Yeah, it's not one specific market, it's one specific goal or objective of the client. And that is if their goal is to use robots or related technology, meaning any sort of electromechanical, computer-based systems, to create experiences for people, then that's my market. That's where I can come in. And really, the animatronics and film stuff is interesting, and I look forward to having more experience in those areas, but I think those are more resources for my company rather than revenue sources for my company. Because we take the technology that exists there and the experiences that we have there and bring that into creating these robot prototypes and development platforms. That's really the central core of our business. So that's our target market.
Another question here?
Yeah.
Hi. You mentioned the comparison between Kermit and your product and kind of that relationship. So is the goal with Therabots or with any of these to actually have a component where they are actually, and can they react to human, can they sense human emotion?
Ooh, gosh, you had me until can they sense emotion, because how do you sense emotion? They can certainly respond to like squeezing, they can respond, there are sensors out there that can evaluate skin conductivity, so how much someone's hands are sweating. And that we can use sort of like a polygraph test. You can't really detect if someone's lying, you can detect if their hands are sweating and their heartbeat changes and that sort of thing. So there are ways of sensing it that way. And I think another part of your question was how they relate to the person. And that is a very interesting area. There's a whole field devoted to it, human-robot interaction, which is all about how a robot should present itself to a person and how it should perceive, how it can perceive what the human is doing or feeling and respond appropriately. And that's all autonomous, meaning the robot is thinking for itself. It's not puppeteered, it's not pre-programmed to perform select routines.
Question right up front.
Yeah.
I think this is wild. This is awesome. But how do you respond to people who have a fear of that you're creating techniques and skills that will take away jobs from people eventually? Do you get that concern?
Yeah, and I wish I prepared for that question. Because, it's delicate. It's like walking on a thin sheet of ice. Don't worry about it is basically my philosophy on it, because, oh gosh, do I even want to address this? I'll take a shot at it. If I offend anyone, I'm sorry. But my take on it is that as robots make things more efficient and make our life experiences better, new markets will emerge, certainly creating new types of robots, creating new skins. An artist can create a new skin for a robot. New manufacturing jobs, producing the robots. It's going to take away some therapy animals' jobs, but I think I'd rather see them run free. Yeah.
Oh, Derek.
Oh, sorry.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Derek, you mentioned that you're going to be kind of a cadre of freelancers that come together. What type of skills are you looking for? And just as an example, would toy designers, for example, be somebody you may want to look at? It seems like they were kind of some folks I know there were maybe early robotics designers, for movements and dolls and such.
Certainly, and they wouldn't need to have any specific skills in robots to be doing the kind of work that could assist or improve the development effort that Golem Workshop is doing. I've got actually toy designers, toy sculptors, someone who builds prototypes of toys, like they send him the clay models and he does the molds here in Kansas City. Artists, any sort of craftspeople, seamstresses, for sewing up these plush. That's something I have almost no experience in, and I'm actually looking for someone that could help out with that kind of thing. So really, artists, craftspeople, engineers, anything like that, I'd love to hear about people in the area who would be up for this sort of challenge.
Question over here.
How would you manage that mobile workforce?
That's where the internet comes in. It's mostly communication via email and video conferencing, shared drives on cloud resources. That's typically how it's done, and then of course occasionally you want to meet in person and hash things out. I'm not sure I follow. Like when would I need to scale it up?
Well, I'm saying, do you have any strategies other than just those? Are you handling all these different people in physical space versus virtual space?
It's sort of, I don't really have a strategy for it. It's when a project comes up, like probably the biggest project I've done with Golem Workshop exclusively, without any working for any other companies or partnerships with any other companies, is what's called the Brute Golem, which isn't here, but it's the big monster head that went into a haunted house, and that was developing a network of these free agents and continuing to expand that network, and then communicating with them directly as specific tasks in the development came up. It wasn't even like, in 8 months, we will need someone to create fiberglass molds. It was like, the fiberglass, or the true story, the plaster molds aren't working on this. They're too heavy, and they're not casting the materials as we expected they would. Therefore, we have to use fiberglass. So let's find a fiberglass person, and fortunately, we had someone that was able to do that. So it's kind of that ad hoc approach to it, and maybe there's room for a better strategy.
Back here.
Yeah.
If I understand your current model, it's to have freelancers that are hired guns to do prototypes for new designs or for a one-off. Is that correct?
Yeah. because we haven't actually moved into any sort of manufacturing yet. And that's the point where I would start to, if we moved into that area, that's the point where I would start to consider full-time employees to, you know, manage those facilities and make sure they don't degrade and they're able in working order at all times.
From what we see up here, it appears you're going towards the toy industry, is that correct?
I'm going towards the social robot or co-robot industry because I think, like, you know, that's the second slide with the big robot. I think that's really the most exciting area I could work in, the place that would have the most impact. And it's true that toy technologies and toy concepts can be incorporated into robots for those applications. It's certainly an area I've explored. I've been making some contacts in the toy industry because I think they're actually, in some ways, better suited than the personal robot industry or companies because they've got things in mind like cost and market penetration, whereas personal robot companies are still like, how can we build this thing and have it cost less than $200,000 for the client, for the customer?
And are you sort of the one in Kansas City that's focused on this?
As far as I know.
Okay. I was just thinking of some other examples, like the Stupid Fun Club in Berkeley.
Right,
And
yeah,
DIY,
Will Wright.
And DIY drones, and those are ones I have experience with. And I think it'd be really great to see, you know, some creative forces coming out of Kansas City in robotics and electronics.
Yeah. Do you have the Stupid Fun Club still in operation?
Yeah, they are. They're going through some transitions, but yes, they are.
Right. Did Will Wright drop out of it?
Yes.
Okay, right. That's sort of the last I heard. That's good. I was excited to see what they were going to come out with.
And so this is really neat work, and it takes a collaborative that you're putting together, and I just didn't know if it existed in Kansas City, so it's great to hear.
Yeah, certainly.
Question over here to your left.
I just got back from the Tribeca Film Festival a couple of weeks ago, and while I was there, I was walking along and there was this little robotic person all of a sudden on the floor, and it was scooting around and it said, "Pick me up." So I picked it up. And it began to talk to me, and it actually turned out to be survey questions, kind of a fun interaction. But I wondered if you saw possibilities for like the Kansas City Bartle Hall Convention Center or the Tourist Bureau, anything like that in the future for just some fun interactive.
That would be great. I haven't really considered possibilities like that. You know, you've seen the stuff that I've used all pretty early stage, but there's really no reason why we couldn't throw a prototype out there as long as it's not, you know, too high powered with the motors and stuff. But yeah, great idea.
So I'm going to wrap up with one last question. You've got a room full of 200-ish entrepreneurs and resources here in Kansas City. What can we do to support you, or what resources do you need to connect with as you're growing your business and as you're looking for new opportunities? And what's kind of the next steps in that journey?
Right. The challenge for me thus far has been to find the ideal clients. And really that's going to remain my challenge because, as I mentioned very early on, I got into this business because I want to work with ideal clients doing the specific things that I love, and not really, I don't want to use the word selling out because that has a negative connotation. It's really just a different way of doing business. So finding those ideal clients is something that anyone can help me out with. If you see someone who wants to use a system like any of those I've described, any sort of robotic components to create experiences for people, it could be in restaurant theming, you know, haunted attractions. I've spoken with the Kansas City haunted attractions guy, so actually that one's covered. But you know what I mean. Looking for the clients that are going to benefit from this sort of partnership or product. And what else is mentioned earlier, finding people who would want to collaborate with me. Those are artists, engineers, craftspeople. It seems like almost any job that fits into those categories could potentially contribute to a project that Golem Workshop might have down the line. So those are the two things, really.
Awesome. Great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you guys have any more questions for our entrepreneurs, be sure to